The real slight came not from David Foster, but I think it came from Kern Lima. The problem is this year she didn't put out anything at all, and now has a lovely podcast going on about how to deal with a narcissist.
Who could she be talking about, Paula?
What is a narcissist? And how does somebody know if there's one in their life?
Serena didn't wish her happy birthday. Of course, they're not really talking anymore. Beyoncé, she of the text, didn't do anything. The Kardashians, also insanely quiet.
So it's not just Meghan's Hollywood friends who are gone, right? Beyoncé, Serena Williams, even Kris Jenner. But it's the coterie that were super close to her in Montecito, vanishing too, including, believe it or not, the ultimate sycophant Kern Lima. As this report makes clear, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are facing a crushing court bill and vanishing A-list friends, our friend Paula Frolic of News Nation, reporting that Bronte Coy, who has, I believe, become one of the new Sussex propagandists, the Australian, admitting that the Sussexes' finances are a black box. And when Paula Frolic asks, so can they actually afford it in this new essay, Coy responds that similar to the royal family, we don't really know what income they have. Even the mega deals were guest work. The Netflix one they used to have and the Spotify deal, all of that was estimations. We don't actually know exactly how much they've made over the years. But Coy's sources, and so this is Harry and Meghan's fight back on the money, insist there is no panic in Montecito. I am constantly told that they're fine, that they've got money in the coffers. And she sees one telling clue. The biggest indication of that is the fact that Harry has taken on all of these legal cases time and time again. That doesn't really indicate that he has any huge concerns over his finances. Still, it is, of course, a massive hit. But I think the biggest revelation is the one that Paula Frolic made here on Outspoken. And it is now a fallout with Kern Lima. Yes, her of abundantly awful podcast fame, who did not grant Meghan a birthday wish. And she becomes one of a long list, which now includes Serena Williams and Beyoncé. Watch the revelation.
The real slight came not from David Foster, but I think it came from Kern Lima, her former best friend, who last year was leaving gushing birthday notes and all of this kind of stuff on the internet, and of course put out that weird video we all laughed at. Or it was last year. And the problem is this year she didn't put out anything at all, and now has a lovely podcast going on about how to deal with a narcissist.
Who could she be talking about, Paula?
I'm not sure, but I do think it's interesting that the biggest snubs came from the people who were actually quiet. Serena didn't wish her happy birthday. Of course, they're not really talking anymore. Beyoncé, she of the text, didn't do anything. The Kardashians, also insanely quiet. The only people who wished her happy birthday were Kelly Zafjan and Tracy Robbins.
If indeed it is true that there has been a split, this does seem pretty pointed to me, what she's written, Paula. So look at this. She writes, wondering if someone in your life is a narcissist, or maybe you've even asked, what if I'm a narcissist? Communication coach and expert Jefferson Fisher shares something comforting right off the back. If you're asking if you are one, you're probably not one, because true narcissists don't ask, they don't reflect, they don't do empathy, they only do themselves. Again, it all just feels rather pointed, as you say, on the week where there was no birthday message at all.
At all. And, you know, there are a lot of people who were like, well, maybe they sent it privately. But in Meghan's world, if you don't send something publicly, it didn't happen. And also,
they didn't send it privately
video
before, you see. Like Abigail Spencer last year, you know, her Suits co-star, last year went public. This year did not. Well, that doesn't make any sense.
I think it does make sense, because I think people just have had enough. So on the show that I did on my channel last night, I now host this daily show called The Daily BS, and I put up Kern Lima's first video with Meghan side by this video she's done by herself, talking about how do you get rid of a narcissist in your life. And I thought, well, you pretty much did it right there, babe.
Firstly, I need to remind you of how Kern Lima clearly did know Meghan Markle was a narcissist case. So this is why I am convinced that Paula Frolic is right on this, because when Kern Lima hosted that interview there was lots of weirdness, but perhaps one of the most weird moments was when she sat there reading the most ludicrous poem, which really anyone who knows anything about Meghan does not connect to Meghan at all. And Meghan sort of sat there. Just keep going. She should have stopped. Like, it was so mortifying. And that's why I think Jamie Kern Lima did it, because she knew that Meghan, as a narcissist, would love it. Watch.
And when I was literally praying before this interview today, and this is what kept coming to me. And I think that all of us together collectively in our own lives can almost like lean into this quote. So this is by Theodore Roosevelt. It's not the critic who counts, nor the man who points out how the strong woman stumbles. I'm going to paraphrase here. Or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the woman who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there's no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends herself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if she fails, at least fails while daring greatly. That is you, my friend. I love you.
I love you, and I know you are a narcissist. And now I've become so despondent, I'm going to host an episode of my podcast talking all about it. We see you, Jamie Kern Lima. We feel you. Watch.
What is a narcissist? And how does somebody know if there's one in their life or if they're one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, let me get this out of the gate. If you're asking the question, if you're a narcissist, here's the clue. That tells you you're not the narcissist. And you actually have the emotional awareness to ask that question or even care to ask that question. Ones that are true narcissists, not just people who have narcissistic tendencies. They are somebody who just exhibits maybe toxic behaviors every now and then. We're talking about the people that are tried and true. They are a narcissistic person. They don't have empathy. They don't do empathy. They only do themselves. I mean, they have to be the best out of everything. They can't take the idea that they are not better than who they're sitting across from, who has the better ideas, who said the better thing. You compliment somebody, they need to put them down to make themselves feel better. It is a continuous loop with these type of personalities that they want praise and control from you at all times.
Royal YouTube sensation P. Diner. She knows. She knows. Oh my God, this is so funny.
Yeah, I think it's very intentional. I think when you have someone like Jamie, there's so much to talk about. There's so much going on. And I think when you have her speaking and saying this is something she wants to get addressed for her own personal life, she needs to find answers what to do with this because she's dealing with something in her own life and has an issue. And I really do think it points to her friendship or ex-friendship with Meghan. I mean, how could it not? I mean, you're showing signs of not even talking to her anymore. And then we have this as a topic. Everything in media with people like this is very intentional because it's like in the church, you go do something, you sin, and then the preacher goes up there and gives a sermon about your sin, not saying your name, but giving the sermon because he wants you to get the picture of what, he's talking about. So I think it's the same thing here. And I mean, how could it not be? Because this is the media that they're in, where they bring out things within their own personal lives to address it for the whole world to see, because that's something they're dealing with. And I can tell Jamie is the kind of person would be, I think, really hurt easily almost by some of the things that Meghan would do, because to me, she seems overly happy and affectionate towards people. And I could see Meghan just brushing her off because Meghan doesn't have empathy. She doesn't have that concern for people. And Jamie seems like she does to me. I don't see how these two could even be friends. I could see like them going at each other mentally, not saying things intentionally, but doing it through media to give a message about something. So to me, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it was like the most subtle, least subtle way of doing it.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
Absolutely.
she knows. She's seen all of the codes. There was no birthday post last week, even though there had been a birthday post the week before. Your word for this, P. Dinah, is perfect. Intentional. It's also a very Jamie Kern Lima word, by the way. And the thing is, P. Dinah, a lot of Meghan Markle's past will not escape her. That is becoming clear this week, including with this headline from Richard Eden in the Daily Mail about the two telling details in my colleague's 10-year of Meghan piece. And he says it's reopening painful old wounds for the Sussex Survivors Squad. Now, I have actually spoken about the Sarah Vine article in full on a special episode of the show with According to Taz. But I will just take you through the Richard Eden take on this, P. Dinah, because he's sort of talking about how it's invoking the Sussex Survivors Club to come out again. So he writes, for me, the most revealing detail about the American actress who married Prince Harry came out at the end of the article. Well-connected Vine wrote, if someone displeases her, they sure know about it. I was once told, this time by a friend with contacts in the royal household, that one day the Duchess was interviewing for staff. A young girl, a perfectly harmless and nervous Sloane in her early 20s, was ushered into her presence. Meghan was sitting at her desk reading some papers. For what seemed like an eternity, she kept her eyes down, ignoring the girl completely. Then she glanced up, examined her, and then went back to her work. You can leave, she said. And that was that. Now, Eden says this anecdote brought back painful memories of the Sussex Survivors Club. That's the nickname used by those who worked for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex since Meghan married into the royal family. Some dislike talking about even their brief professional relationship with Meghan because it brings with it unwelcome flashbacks. Being ignored, as was apparently the case with the job applicant mentioned by Vine, was just one of the hazards working for the former star of the television legal drama Suits. Now, what was interesting is that, obviously, you remember at the time, a spokesperson for Meghan said the Duchess is saddened by this latest attack on her character, particularly as someone who has been the target of bullying herself and is deeply committed to supporting those who have experienced pain and trauma. But Richard Eden says what's interesting is that Harry and Meghan have never publicly urged the palace to publish the bullying report. Surely, if they want to have no further staff recruitment problems, they should do so as a matter of urgency. But the thing is, P. Dinah, we know that ain't ever going to happen. But I think Richard Eden is right to pose the question. I mean, I have been pressuring and advocating for this bully report to be released for a very long time. And we can only keep the pressure up.
I think that's what you would do if you were innocent. You would say, well, publish it. I have nothing to hide. But you don't hear that coming from them at all. To what Meghan did to this young girl, I think it just points to how Meghan has kept up this role of just feeling like she's so much better than other people. And I'm so glad that this was written about because it's much worse than what we're reading. That's what it should be so alarming to people, that it's much worse than what we're reading, because who would do something like this to, someone looking for a job? I mean, it just shows you how cold-hearted this woman is. It just shows she has no empathy for people. She feels so much superior, and she'll never adhere to the wishes of anyone who is asking her to do certain things, like the Spencer family around no photos at Diana's grave. Meghan, I think, she can be a very dangerous person. I really do believe that, because her way of living and looking at who she is shows no regard for other people. And that's the kind of person that will just let you burn. They don't care what happens to you. As long as she's getting hers and she's getting, the glory or whatever, she could care less. And to me, that is a very dangerous person, because she doesn't care what will happen to those people underneath her. And she will just continue living a life and just, as long as she's getting further and further, like having no consequences to her actions, continuing to do what she wants to do, it will just storms are falling or all behind her in her past. Look at what's happened with her father, for example, completely isolated and just devastated by this woman. If she can do that to her father, she will do it to the girl coming in looking for a job. She is a cold person that is very dangerous. And I really do mean this, Dan. It will be a very hard price for Harry to pay when they are no longer together, because he is going to be burned to the ground.
And we see it coming. We see it coming. And P. Dinah, the K word comes up a lot, doesn't it? Karma. And, there is a certain karma with the way that Prince Harry allowed his wife to treat others, including his late grandmother and late grandfather, that in some ways the universe was probably always going to pay him back. And that karma doesn't always sometimes come in negativity connected to his own life. It comes in positivity around other people's lives that he desperately wanted but wasn't able to achieve. And I think one of the perfect examples of that came this week with Chelsy Davy, who was a lovely, lovely woman, the ex-girlfriend, of course, of Prince Harry. And she released a day in her life, right? And wow, as Nancy Sidley put it, Chelsy Davy is living the life Harry wanted, living privately on an island. And I want to show it to you. Firstly, for a couple of reasons. We didn't ever hear much from Chelsy Davy, so it's really interesting to hear her sort of deep South African Zimbabwean accent and actually just really look at her life and think, wow, thank goodness she didn't settle for Harry, because what she found was actually so much more positive. But this is going to hurt Harry. It really is going to hurt Harry. Watch this.
I spend the day with my mum. Well, she wants her to do business from Mauritius. Phil and my mum get up quite early. I normally head out for a morning walk. When I get back to the house, me and my sister are heading down for some breakfast before we head off for school.
Today we are shooting the Leopold collection, so as soon as the kids leave, the crew arrives. And while the models get straight into hair and makeup, we look at the location options. We started with some still life shots, which is exactly when I managed to drop some of the jewellery into the sea. Pia's first shot of the day was in the water, which, even though we are in Mauritius, it's actually winter here right now, so it's pretty cold. While Pia was in the water, Eve was doing her thing on the rocks, and we got some great shots. Finn then woke up from his second nap of the day and came to check out what was going on. He then moved on to the next look, but the weather started to turn a little cloudy on us, and that was about the time that the pizza arrived. So we stopped for a quick lunch break, and Laura and I had a look at the mood board to see what shots we had so far before heading out onto the boat. The weather wasn't ideal on the water, but we made the most of it. Pia climbed the sail, which was all very exciting, and despite the weather, we actually ended up getting some of my favourite shots. We then headed to the beach for the final shots of the day, which was about the time that Leo and Chloe got back from school and wanted to come check out what was going on. Chloe was absolutely fascinated by the models. We got very lucky with the sunset. It was a good one, so the light was perfect, and we got that final sunset shot, had a quick review of the footage, and called it a wrap. As we were leaving, the kids spotted some of their friends on the beach, so we hung out on the beach for a bit before heading home for dinner and bed. And that is a wrap on a very long and full day here in Mauritius.
I mean, number one, what a life. Like, I'm
Heck
jealous.
yeah.
But of course, this is going to be difficult. We know she was the one who got away. We saw in the court case against the Daily Mail how much Harry is still haunted by the loss of his relationship with Chelsy Davy. So I look at this in two ways, Peter. Firstly, how wonderful that she is now happy to share with the world her beautiful life, her beautiful family, her beautiful children. Wasn't it just wonderful? But secondly, like, I do completely agree with Nancy Sidley. This is the life that Prince Harry wanted. It is the life he could have had, Pete Diner.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what I found so fascinating about this, Dan, is she shared this with us, showing only the backs of her children, right? She also showed us her business. And it's exactly how Meghan is trying to do her business, but Chelsy does it in such a much more creative way. You know, you see the interactions with her children, and she talks about her children, but then she weaves in her work and what her work was like, and then what the children thought of the work, and makes this long video to show a very nice life in such a creative way. And it's exactly what I think Meghan is trying to go for. But Chelsy, the way she has done it, I thought it just came off so much more interesting, and you didn't see her trying to be pretentious with her children. Like, you really saw like her life in a way that it really looks like, you know, not through still photos and different shots here, but through video, right? And you heard her. I mean, I just loved it. I watched it a couple of times, and I just thought I was really in her world for this short moment, you know. And I could imagine Harry, you know, thinking, well, that's the kind of life they could have had. Absolutely. Because he could have been off doing his charity thing. You didn't see her husband in this, you know, and I could see Harry being in this kind of a relationship, and I'm seeing that he would be happy with his wife, the way she is doing things with the children, not showing their faces, being creative, living your best life, and allowing him to do his life in, you know, wherever they would live, because Harry would want to live somewhere else. He would not want to be in California. And Chelsy would have given him everything that he would have wanted, right? That's what it looks like to me. You know,
100%.
and he's lost out big. It must be really tough for him to see this now.
100%. And trust me, he is seeing it. He is feeling it. He looks at everything.
Sure.
Pete Diner, he is haunted. He's talking about it in his therapy. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is the thing.
Yep.
Harry is very, very self-referential about all of this stuff, and he has definitely seen it. But for me, I just think, thank you, Chelsy Davy, for sharing a little insight into your life. And you're so right. Like, We get none of that from Meghan's weirdness, you know, like the clip from Was Never this week of her with the berries, and it's just we see nothing. There's no insight. There's nothing real. It's very overproduced. So thank you, Chelsea David, for sharing that little part of your life.
And also, being, might I say, always putting her husband in stuff. Meghan is. Chelsea wasn't trying like with her husband putting the camera in his face. Harry had to show up on that show, you know, that chef show, right, as part of the contract.
MasterChef Australia, yeah.
Yeah, MasterChef. Like, he always has to be a part of her little comings and goings.
Totally.
And I'm sure he doesn't like it, so.
Totally.
Mess.
Peter, thank you so much for being here.
This video is for news reporting, commentary, and educational purposes. The views expressed are based on publicly available information and personal analysis. We strive for accuracy but encourage viewers to verify information through official sources.